Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah,
Work.
quickly, first I will revise the concepts what I discussed in the last class, then I will go to today's class. Okay, right. So in last class we discussed about displacement work, and displacement work it is only it is integral P into dV, right now. So in order to calculate this displacement work, you should know the relation between pressure and volume, or else you should know the path followed by the system during the process. Okay, so that is the use of the displacement. In order to calculate that, it is required to know the relation between P and V, or you should know the path of the process. And we came to know that work is a path function. So I already discussed what is path function, point function also. Okay, and the thing here is we are writing dou W because of the path function, right? So because of the path function, we are writing dou W because path function is always inexact differential. So dou W cannot be written as W2 minus W1. Rather, we can write it as W122 like this. Okay, right, right. And the limitations are it is applicable for only closed system, and it should follow the quasi-static process. Means all the intermediate states should be in equilibrium, and there should not be any viscous effects, right? Means viscous effects is nothing but no imbalanced forces inside the system. Okay, and there the effects of gravity, current, and magnetization are negligible, and this is valid for only quasi-static process and for the closed system. Suppose if you want to make use for a non-quasi-static process, then W is not equal to, at that case, W is not equal to PdV, right? When the system follows quasi-static process, nothing but it is a reversible process. All quasi-static processes are reversible process. Means when the system changes its state from state 1 to 2 via this path, so 1 here, 2 here, then the reversal 2 to 1 is also possible if it follows quasi-static process. Means all the intermediate states are in equilibrium condition. That's what we discussed. Okay, and I also explained about path function and point function. If the property of a system is independent of the path followed, then we can call it as a point function. If the property of a system is independent of the path followed, means if you see whether the system follows 1A2 or 1B2, the difference of volumes remains the same as I told here. So if it is process A, V2 minus V1 is 3 meter cube. If it is process B also, it is same. Means I can say that the volume is a point function because it is independent of the path followed. Okay, and whereas in case of path function, it depends on the path followed by the system, right? So the example for path functions are heat and work, both are path functions, right? Work and heat are path functions. Okay, because always we know the projected area in PV diagram gives the work done. Okay, the area under PV diagram gives the work done. If you see here, if the system follows 1A2, then this is the total projected area available. Suppose if the system follows 1B2, then the projected area is decreased, right? So therefore, if it follows 1A2, the system has to do this much amount of work extra. This envelope means this work has to be extra, right? Means always work depends upon the path followed by the system. Okay, so remember throughout your engineering, the area under PV diagram, gives the work done. That may be work added to the system or work extracted from the system. And the area under TS diagram, what is T here? Anyone please reply. What is T and what is S? T is the,
Temperature.
yeah, S is the, S means what?
Entropy.
Entropy. Okay, right. So the area under TS diagram always gives the heat flow. These two are very, very, very important. So the area under PV diagram gives the work done, means nothing but projected area. The area in the self is nothing but the projected area. Means if you see from the top, what is the area it is covering till the axis? That is called projected area, right? For the PV diagram, the projected area is the work done, and for TS diagram, the projected area is the heat flow that is maybe added to the system or subtracted from the system. Right, and we already solved these two problems we solved in last class, right? So by using simple equation W equal to integral PdV. So integral PdV I am writing means I am integrating with respect to volume. Whenever P terms are there, you should write in terms of volume. That relation is given, right? So once you know the relation between pressure and volume, then only it is possible to calculate the work done, as I discussed earlier. So that is the reason whenever I am integrating with respect to volume, I should keep all the volume related terms here, because P is the constant here, only volume is going to change. I want to correlate pressure in terms of volume, and P is replaced by minus 3V plus 15, and the limit 1 is V1 because we are integrating with respect to volume, and this is V2. V1 is 3 meter cube and V2 is 6 meter cube. This problem also covered. And next problem, there is a relation between pressure and volume is given, right? So directly P in terms of V is not given, there is relation is given that volume is inversely proportional to the pressure. So V is inversely proportional to the pressure. That nothing but PV is equals to constant. If PV is equals to constant, which is constant indirectly? Can anyone please? If PV is equals to constant, what is constant? One more parameter is also constant.
Work done.
Not work done. Usually, listen, the equation of state. What is equation of state? PV is equals to R into T. R into T, right? Or I can write R naught by M. What is R naught here? What is R naught here?
Universal gas.
Universal gas
Universal, right?
constant.
Right. So this value will always constant. It's always depends on the gas, right? So the only variables are P, V, and T. If PV is equals to constant, what about T? What about
Constant.
T? Constant means indirectly it is which process it is? Isothermal process. There is big meaning in that, right? Right? If pressure and volume, the product of pressure and volume is constant, indirectly he is saying that temperature is also constant. Temperature is also constant, nothing but it follows isothermal law. It follows isothermal law, right? So as usual, we will write W is equals to integral P into dV, right? So what we wrote there? So P is replaced in terms of volume. How to write? Because PV is equals to constant, right? P I have to replace with volume. Therefore, P can be replaced with C by V, where C is the constant, right? So here we will replace with C by V, and C is the constant we write outside of the integration. Integral 1 by V dV is the log V. This problem also completed. V1, V2 are given. Volume 1 in first boundary condition 0.03. V2 value is 0.1 meter cube. No doubt in this one. Very important for short answer. These problems. Clear now? Already discussed this problem in last class itself. Okay, and there are some cases where W is not equal to PdV, right? So in order to exist work done, so there should be according to this equation W equal to integral PdV, we should know there should be some volume difference. If volume difference is there, then only work done will be there. But there are certain cases where dV is equals to 0, but work done is exist. If some cases dV is not equal to 0, but work done not exist, right? So we'll discuss those two cases. One is the unrestrained or free expansion case. In this case, volume change is there, but work done is equals to 0 because there is no restriction for the gas. If I remove this wall, if there is any restriction, then only work is going to happen, right? Because of the vacuum, there is no restriction for the gas for the expansion. Though the volume is keeping increasing, pressure is decreasing, but there is no restriction. So that is the reason there is no work done in case of free expansion process. And the second case is the paddle wheel or stirrer work. So the potential energy of the mass is going to use to increase the temperature, but the volume remains constant because there is no change in the volume because it is a closed system. The volume is remains constant, but the potential energy is used to increase the thermal energy of the fluid. So that is nothing but temperature of the fluid, right? So that's what M into G into dz, where dz is the datum. So this distance is called dz. That is the datum from which height the mass is falling down. Okay, M into G. So nothing but the torque and the angle twisted. T is the torque transmitted by this shaft, and theta is the angle turned by that shaft, right? So that is the reason here in this case also W is not equal to PdV. Work exists and volume, there is no change in the volume. Okay, and that till that point I discussed, right? Clear now? Yes or no? In last class we discussed till that case. Now today we'll discuss. Am I audible? Please reply anyone. Am I
Yes,
audible?
sir,
Yes,
audible.
sir.
Okay, okay, right. Now, last class I discussed about work, right? Now, so work is also a form of energy that is transferred without transfer of mass and with help of mechanism. If you recall the definition of the work, work is the energy transferred with help of the mechanism without transfer of mass and without difference of the temperature. There should not be any temperature difference. If the right, so otherwise I will go back quickly. Work definition. Right. Work refers to the energy transferred without transfer of mass and with help of mechanism. Because of a property difference, that property should not be temperature. Means it should not, it should be other than the temperature exist between the system and surrounding. Okay. Na? So work is heat is also same. Heat refers to energy transferred without transfer of mass and with help of temperature difference. Right. Right. Heat is the form of energy which transferred without transfer of mass. This is common point for both heat and work. Without transfer of mass across the boundaries of system, and because of the temperature difference, between the system and surrounding, heat interaction is always taking place. As we discussed already, right? Heat will always flow from body under high temperature to the body under low temperature. Let us assume T2 temperature is greater than T1, and let us assume if the two bodies are in contact, always heat will flow from body under high temperature to the body under low temperature if there exists a contact between, right now. Right. So as I explained one example, that is hot coffee or cold cool drink. So till what point the heat interaction will take place? Till what time the heat interaction will take place in both the cases?
Both.
Till both the
Acquire
bodies attain same
yeah.
temperature, right now. Till both the bodies attain same temperature, the heat interaction is going to take place, right? We can say that when two bodies are under same temperature, we can say that equilibrium as thermal equilibrium. When thermal equilibrium attained, there is no further transfer of heat, then you can say that two bodies are under same temperature. Means in order to transfer the heat, so one, you should maintain the temperature difference, and there should be contact between the two bodies, right? So these two conditions should required in order to transfer the heat. One is the temperature difference, second one is the contact between the two bodies, right now. So that must be there in order to exist heat transfer. In the absence of either requirement, there is no interaction. If let us assume temperature difference is there but there is no contact, then no use, no heat interaction takes place. Or else we can say there is a contact between two bodies but there is no temperature difference, then also there is no question of heat transfer, right? So very important conventions, so we should follow, right? So for both heat and work, right? So heat will be always symbol, we are going to use Q, and work symbol is the W, right now. Right. So let us consider a system, right? So we are adding heat to the system. Whenever we are adding heat to the system, that is nothing but positive sign. It added energy. If you add heat to the system, it increases the internal energy of the system, right? So always heat added to the system is always positive, and heat extracted from the system, heat taken away by the system, is always negative. And whereas work done on the system is negative, and work done by the system is positive, right now. So you remember simply, if you add heat, that heat can be used to do the work done, therefore both are positive. We can remember like this: whatever the heat we are adding to the system, that is used to do certain work, so both are positive, right now. Right. In the same way, if you do work on the system, that work can be converted into some other form of heat, right? So both are negative. Heat added is positive, work done by the system is positive. Heat rejected from the system is negative, work done on the system is negative. Is it is clear? You should not forget about these things. Heat addition, work extraction, both are positive. Heat rejection, work addition, both are negative. How you will remember? That is up to you. Is it is clear? Very, very important while solving the problems.
Yes, sir.
Right now, heat we are adding to the system is positive, and heat we are extracting from the system is negative. Work done on the system is negative. Work done by the system is positive. Okay. Right. So now we will see what are the similarities between heat and work. There are certain similarities as well as certain dissimilarities exist between heat and work, right? So we know that both are path functions. As I told, the area under PV diagram gives the work done, and the area under TS diagram, temperature entropy diagram, gives the heat. That heat may be either added to the system or extracted from the system, and they are not the properties right now. So what is property? In the next coming slides it will be clear, right? So whenever it is a property, it is always exact differential. If it is exact differential, then we can call those are properties of the system. Exact differential means d, let us say dv, dt, dp, these are all properties of the system. Means these are all exact differential. Means I can write dv as v2 minus v1, or dt I can write as t2 minus t1, dp I can write as p2 minus p1, right? Means all properties are exact differential, nothing but all properties are point functions. Is it is clear? If it is a point function, it is a exact differential, nothing but it is a property of a system. There are three correlations. First, what is a point function? Point function means it is a exact differential. If it is a exact differential, it is a property of a system. Number one is there. Rule number one, is it is clear? Why I am calling it as a property? Property means it should be point function. First, it. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
Clear, sir.
Okay. And the system, they are not properties of the system. If it is a property, then it is exact differential. Because of not property, it is inexact differential. Getting or not? Because we are denoting dou w and dou q, right? So is dou q is equal to q2 minus q1? Is dou q is equals to q2 minus q1?
No, sir.
No, because dou q is inexact differential. Similarly, dou w is not equal to w minus w1. Remember throughout this subject, right? So many will get confused between d and dou, and blindly they will write d for both. It is very blunder. Even sometimes if I write also should remind me, I already told, right? So most of the people will make use of d. D is only for the point functions, that is for a property of a system, and dou is for the path function. Okay, that is for inexact differential. Now, second similarity is they represents energy crossing the system boundary, right? And hence they are called boundary phenomena. Both heat and work can cross the boundary. Both heat and work can cross the boundary. They may be added or removed, right? So they are going to taking place through the boundary. So that's why we are calling it as a boundary phenomena. Okay. And third similarity is these energy interactions occurs when a system undergoes a change of state. Yes or no, right? So whenever system undergoes change of state, then only heat interaction or work interaction takes place, right? Right. So they don't exist either before or after the interaction. Whenever you are undergoing any change, at that time only we can observe that either heat is added or heat is removed, or work is added or work is removed. Once the interaction is completed, we cannot found anything. Okay, and both are something which happens to the system, but they are not the characteristic or properties of a system. Both are something which happens to the system, but they are not characteristics. Nothing but they are not a properties of a system. What are the properties? Properties are exact differential. They are point functions. So these are the similarities between heat and work. Now there are that certain dissimilarities are there, right? So there cannot be work transfer in a stable system. There cannot be work transfer in a stable system. If the fluid is in idle condition, so work transfer cannot be takes place, right? So in order to take place work transfer, there should be certain disorderness within the system. but there is no such interaction required for the heat interaction. In order to take heat interaction, what is required? Only temperature difference is required. Only temperature difference is sufficient in order to transfer the heat. So if the system is in stable or unstable, it won't bother. Whereas for work transfer, in a stable system, the work cannot be transferred, right now, because in order to transfer the work, we require certain mechanism. Okay, and heat is the energy interaction due to the temperature difference only, right? That is second dissimilarity. Whereas work is by the reasons other than the temperature reasons. What are the other reasons?
Pressure change, volume.
Yeah, yes,
increase.
very good. Other changes, right now. So temperature difference only required for heat, but it is not required for the work. And we used to call heat is a low grade energy and work is a high grade energy, right? I'll give small glance over this, and after that next unit it will be more clear, right? So why I am calling heat is low grade energy and work is high grade energy. Okay, so let us say I have 100 kilojoules of work, 100 kilojoules of work and 100 kilojoules of heat is there. I have 100 kilojoules of both units are same only. I have 100 kilojoules of work and 100 kilojoules of heat, right? So right is now I can convert this 100 kilojoules of work into other form of equal 100 kilojoules. I can convert this 100 kilojoules of work into other form of energy of magnitude equal to 100 kilojoules. Whereas coming to the heat, if I have 100 kilojoules of heat, I may not convert 100 kilojoules, right? So this value may be less than 100 kilo, right? So maybe, this value 100 kilojoules, right? So I may convert only 80 kilojoule or 90 kilojoule, because so what is heat? It is due to the random disorderness of the molecules, right? So while transmitting, there will be certain loss of heat. That's why from 100 kilojoules to 100 kilojoules of transfer of heat is not possible. It may be only 80 kilojoule or 70 kilojoule, right? Means the efficiency of conversion of work into other form is 100%. The efficiency of conversion of work into other form of energy is 100%. Whereas coming to the heat, the efficiency of conversion of heat into other form of energy is less than 100%. So that is the reason we used to call it as heat is a low grade energy, whereas work is a high grade energy. And one more thing I want to stress upon here is always heat under high temperature. Always heat under high temperature is useful energy. Always heat under high temperature is useful energy. If heat exists under low temperature, we cannot make use of that. So that is the reason heat is called low grade energy and work is called high grade energy. Only one point you can remember, we can convert 100% of work into other form of energy, whereas coming to heat, we cannot convert 100% of heat into other form of energy because of the disorderness of the molecule. Heat is nothing but the thermal disorderness of the molecules within the system. Clear now? Right. Clear, right? For heat and work, similarities, dissimilarities.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, next topic, specific heats. Specific heats, right? Now, what is specific heat? Specific heat is nothing but it is the heat required to increase the temperature of 1 kg of mass by 1 degree. The specific heat is defined as heat required to increase 1 kg of mass by 1 degree centigrade. So the amount of heat required in order to increase the temperature of 1 kg of substance by 1 degree centigrade, right? What is the formula we use? M into C into delta T, where M is the mass, C is the specific heat, delta T is the temperature rise, and Q is equals to M into C into delta T, right now? So we can define specific heat as the amount of heat required to increase the temperature of 1 kg of mass by 1 degree centigrade. That is the definition of the specific heat. Fundamental definition. You should not forget that. Okay, right. Now, coming to, we have any matter in the universe can exist in 3 forms right now. That may be solid, liquid, or gaseous form. Any matter in the universe, right? Right. So, specific heat of solids and liquids varies with the temperature and does not differ much with the type of the process, whether it may be a constant pressure process or it may be constant volume process, or it may be constant temperature process. For solids and liquid, that depends only on the temperature difference. The specific heat of the solids and liquids depends only on the temperature, but not the process it follows, whether it may be constant pressure or isobaric, constant volume or isochoric, constant temperature or isothermal process. Okay, so in case of, whereas in case of gases, specific heat not only depends upon the temperature difference, but also depends upon the type of thermodynamic process the system follows. Getting point or not? So in case of solids and liquids, the specific heat depends only the temperature difference, but not on the process. Whereas coming to the gases, the specific heat depends on the process also, along with the temperature difference. That process may be either constant volume or constant pressure or anything. Okay, so accordingly, for the gases, we have two different types of the specific heats, Cp and Cv. Maybe we don't know the reason so far. We used to study Cp and Cv, right? The main reason here is the gases specific heat depends on thermodynamic process, whereas solids and gases, the specific heat does not depends on the thermodynamic process. Okay, so very simple. Specific heat at constant pressure. Specific heat at constant pressure can be defined as the heat required to increase the temperature of 1 kg of mass by 1 degree centigrade when the process is taking place at the constant pressure. When the process is taking place at the constant pressure, the heat required to raise a mass of 1 kg by 1 degree centigrade. That is called specific heat at constant pressure. It is denoted with symbol C suffix P. And vice similarly, Cv, specific heat at constant volume, we can define the heat required at constant volume to increase the temperature of 1 kg mass by 1 degree centigrade. It is denoted by symbol Cv. Okay, so whereas for solids and liquids, only one specific heat we have. That is the reason for water, C is equals to 4.186 kilojoules per kg Kelvin. Whereas for the gases, let us take for air, we have Cp separately, Cv separately. Cp for the air is 1.005 kilojoules per kg Kelvin, and Cv is 0.718 kilojoules per kg Kelvin. Right now, right. So these values are constant values. Suppose if we gives or not in the problem, if it is required, you need to remember these things. Standard values for water, specific heat, and for air, Cp and Cv. Okay, and there is certain relation between Cp, Cv, and R, as you might have aware. The difference of Cp and Cv is nothing but the gas constant of that particular gas. Gas constant of that particular gas, and the ratio. This is the difference, and the ratio of Cp and Cv is the gamma. Gamma is called adiabatic index. Gamma is called adiabatic index. What is the value of adiabatic index for air? Anyone? Adiabatic index for air. Anyone remember? For air it is 1.4. For air, gamma is equals to 1.4. No units for gamma because it is a ratio, Cp and Cv. Right now, the difference of Cp and Cv is a gas constant, and the ratio of Cp by Cv is a adiabatic index. Okay, and we know that from equation of state, I already discussed. Again, I will discuss because very important. And P capital V is the volume, is equals to m into R into T, where m is the mass, R is the gas constant, T is the temperature. And I can replace V and M. Let us say if I write V by M, it will become specific volume. Specific volume, that is volume per mass. P small v equal to MRT, right? Again, I can write R and R naught. R naught is the universal gas constant. R is the normal gas constant. Okay, so right. So if you replace R by R naught by M, then that is a universal gas constant. Can anyone remember what is the value of universal gas constant?
8.314.
Units. Units are important.
Units.
Kilojoules per
Kilo.
kilomole Kelvin, or
Okay.
joules per mole Kelvin. So the value of R naught is equals to 8.314 0.314 kilojoules
Kelvin.
per kilomole Kelvin. Kilomole Kelvin, or kilo can be cancelled, joule per mole Kelvin. It depends upon the units given in the problem. Joules per, both are same because kilo can be cancelled here. Right now, or not. This is also constant value, 8.314 kilojoules per kilomole Kelvin. Right. Now slightly we are entering into our concept history of the first law of the thermodynamics. Right now, right. So the first law of thermodynamics states that whenever heat is added to a system, it transforms equal amount of some other form of the energy. Just first they assume, but is it is possible to convert equal amount of heat into other form of energy? Just now I
No,
discussed.
sir.
No, because heat is always, it is a low grade energy. The complete conversion of heat into some other form of energy is not possible, right? So first the history they assumed, right? In 18th century, heat was thought to be an invisible fluid called calorie, and which flowed like water from hot objects to cold objects, right? In 18th century, the people think that it was an invisible fluid called a calorie, which flowed like water from hot objects to the cold object. And in 1840, the James Joule demonstrated that the flow of heat was nothing more than the flow of energy itself. In 1840, one step advanced, the James Joule found that flow of heat was nothing more than the flow of energy itself. The caloric theory of heat was gradually abandoned. It's not in use, the caloric theory, right? So James Joule, whenever the theory exists, then the caloric theory was abandoned, right? So the main reason, what is the unit for the energy? What are the units for the energy?
Joules.
Joule. That is the main reason, because the James Joule is the first person, he demonstrated the flow of the heat, right? That's the reason we are getting units as the joule, right? And he discussed some experiment also, right? So if you remember the paddle wheel or steering experiment, it is similar to that one only. Okay, so let us say here some pedal is there, and here we have steerer arrangement. Here it is insulated beaker. It is thermally insulated beaker, means insulated means heat cannot be added or heat cannot be extracted. Whatever the heat present within the system will remains constant. It cannot be exchanged with the surroundings. Okay, it is adiabatic, insulated one. Okay, let us say initially the mosses are at the top, so these are the pulleys, and the string is wrapped over the pulley, right? So whenever you rotate this in the clockwise direction, so the weights will move upward direction, and if you release this handle, so due to the gravity, these weights will come down, right? Whenever the weights are at the top position, let us say initially the weights are at this position, this weight is at this position, and this weight is at this position, and at that time the complete string is wrapped over here, and at this instant we know that this is the which energy it has, potential energy, because of its mass and gravity, right? If you, whenever you remove this handle, so due to the gravity, this weight starts moving downward direction. When these weights are moving downward direction, right, these weights are attached to the this wheel by using string, right? So when the string is passing over a pulley, because we are, the main advantage of pulley is friction is equals to zero, means there is no loss of energy. There is no loss of energy. The main advantage of pulleys are always frictionless bodies. Pulleys are always frictionless bodies. Okay, right? So this potential energy is converted into the rotational energy, right? So due to this stirrer will rotate within the fluid. As we know, when fluid particles are adhered to the stirrer, will be disturbed, right? So due to the rotation and due to the friction, the temperature of the fluid will rises. So that can be recorded by using this thermometer, right? So the rise in temperature can be taking place, right? So now you can see here, as the weights fall, they give up the potential energy and warm the water accordingly. This was the first demonstrated by James Joule, for whom the unit of energy is named, that is the joule. Joule is the unit for the energy, right? So how it will work? A falling mass turns a paddle in insulated beaker of water in this representation. right? So the temperature increases due to the rotation of this one. The temperature increases by producing the mechanical work on the system. The potential energy is m into g into h. So it's the change in the thermal energy, nothing but the temperature rise is equals to m into c into dt, m into c into dt, because I'm using only c, because for the liquid only we have only specific heat. The liquids does not follow the process. They require only temperature difference. That's why it is specific heat. So this value we know for water, specific heat is equals to 4.186 kilojoules per kg Kelvin. And we know the initial temperature is known to us, and final temperature after warm up that water temperature is known. Therefore, we can find Q also from this, right now. So change in the thermal energy of the water system can be calculated, right? So Joule conducted number of experiments and found that work expended is proportional to increase in the thermal energy. So increase in thermal energy, nothing but increase in the temperature. This is the Joule's paddle wheel experiment he conducted. Right now we will see what are the different forms of energies we have. Okay, what are the different forms of energy? So this is the simple hydroelectric generation of power. So what is hydroelectric generation station means? By using water we are going to produce the electricity. By using water, if you produce electricity, then that plant is called hydroelectric power plant. Okay, now you can see here. So where this can be erected near the dams only, right now. Wherever the water sources are there we can use hydroelectric stations, right now. So where we have hydroelectric station in Srisailam, we have hydroelectric station. By using water
Yes, sir.
energy, we
Srisailam.
are Srisailam. So we are converting the water power into the electric power now.
Electrical.
Right now. So first, in order to the construction will be, first you require dam. So right, what is dam? Dam is always constructed across the river or across the lake, and then we use concrete for the material, right now. Or always dams are constructed across the rivers. Okay, so right. So now we can see here, and this is the penstock. Penstock is nothing but it is a pipe. Penstock is nothing but a pipe of larger dimensions in meters of diameter, 3 meter, 4 meter, right? So usually in our household we use only inches, right? 1 inch pipe, 1.5 inch pipe, 2 inch pipe, maximum 3 inch pipe we will use. Okay, right? So whereas if you go for drainages, right now, so they will use 1 meter diameter pipes, water for a municipal water, 1 meter, 2 meter. But here 5 meter, 10 meter. So the pipe of larger diameter, the pipe of larger diameter is called penstock. Okay, right. So means the water will flow through the penstock to the required area. Now here if you see, this is your turbine portion, right? So you can see over the turbine you have a blade, right? So at the end of the penstock, it's not here, it is not clear, and there will be an arrangement of let's converging, let's nozzle is fitted. This is called converging passes. Are you able to see? This is the converging passage, right? So what happens to area from inlet to outlet? What happens to the area from inlet to outlet? The area is decreasing. The diameter is decreasing from inlet to outlet. Whenever the diameter is decreasing, the area is also going to decrease. So whenever area decreases, what happens? Let us say this is V1, this is V2. The V2 will be increased very, very high as compared to V1, because decrease in area will increase the velocity by decreasing its pressure, right now. So therefore, the high velocity water leaving this nozzle will hit the blades of the turbine. So what will happen due to that? The blade is set into the rotation. The blade is set into the rotation, and we can see this is the shaft. This is the shaft of the blade, and here this is the generator. The shaft of the turbine and the shaft of the generator both are coupled. Means whenever this turbine blade is rotates, this generator wheel also rotates, thereby we will get the electricity, and that can be used by transmitting from towers, right now. Now here, this is not my requirement, the working. My requirement is which form of energy is converted into which form of energy. So far I explained working, right? Now, so now let us say, now we have gate valve over here. Let us assume we have gate valve over here, and let us assume there is no requirement of power, and let the gate valve is closed. When the gate valve is closed, what is the position of water in the dam? What is the state of the water in the dam? Tell me. When there is no flow of water, stable, right now? It is in the stable condition or static condition, right? So at that instant of time, which energy the water will possess? When the water is in rest position, which type of energy this water possesses?
Potential.
Potential energy. If you
Potential
see,
energy.
yeah, if you see, it is certain height from the turbine wheel, right? No? So if you see the levels, this is one level and this is the other level, right? So this is the difference of head. This much amount of pressure difference is there. This is the head, right? Now, so this, it has potential energy. Let us say if I open this wall, this water starts flowing. Now what happened at that time? Means at that time the potential energy of water, at that time the potential energy of water is converted into
Kinetic energy.
kinetic energy, right?
Kinetic energy.
Yeah, when the water is allowed to pass through the penstocks, the potential energy present inside the water is used to convert the kinetic energy, right? Now this high velocity water is going to impinge over the blades of the turbine. So due to that, the turbine wheel rotates. Now this kinetic energy is converted into which type of energy?
Mechanical.
Mechanical energy. Always rotational energy is our mechanical energy, right? See, potential energy is here at the water when it is in rest position. When the water is flowing due to the velocity, it has kinetic energy. When this high velocity water impinges over the blades of the turbine, thereby the shaft of the turbine starts rotating. When the shaft rotating, the generator shaft is also coupled to the turbine shaft. Thereby this energy is called mechanical energy, right? So when this shaft is coupled to the generator shaft, so due to the rotation of the generator shaft, which energy is produced now? Which energy is produced? Electric energy. Electric energy, right? So now how many forms of energies we considered here? Potential energy, kinetic energy, mechanical energy, electrical energy, right now? So that is the main law of first law of thermodynamics, right now? So first law of thermodynamics is energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transformed from one form to the other form. Means if the water is in rest position, it has potential energy. When the water is allowed to flow through the pipes or penstocks, it is converted into kinetic energy and it is going to impinge over the blades of the turbine. At that time, it is converted, kinetic energy is converted into mechanical energy, and the shaft of the turbine is coupled to the generator. Then the mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy. Clear na? Reversal is also possible. We can convert electrical energy to mechanical energy to kinetic energy to potential energy. Maybe efficiencies may be differ, but reversal is also possible right now, right? So clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, with this we will stop today. Any doubt so far, please ask me. Any doubts in today's class?